Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bro Time. We are here back with another live episode. We are going to talk conspiracy theories today. But before we get started on that, a couple things I wanted to touch base on. There is some action going on in India and Pakistan over the last, about 24 hours, Jamie?
Yes.
Okay, so what's going on over there?
So this is all following a terrorist attack in the Kashmir region a few weeks ago. I don't know. I think we talked about it last week. There was that video of a guy going down a zip line, and there's a terrorist attack happened behind him. So this is all in
Yeah.
response to that. India and Pakistan are both nuclear powers, so this is one to keep an eye on. Maybe find some news sources to get alerts from outside of U.S. media because this story has been absent the whole time, and I want to know why.
It really has been absent. I just barely heard about it. Like an hour ago, and this has been going on pretty much all day, right?
Uh, yeah, it's been a back and forth. Let's see, April 22nd, militants opened fire near the Pahaglam area. I know I butchered that, but like I said, in Kashmir, and that was killing 26 people, mostly Indian tourists. So Kashmir is very disputed. This all goes back to, of course, when the Brits controlled the region and decided that their lines were more important than cultural lines that had been drawn for thousands of years before them. So that's why, and this tension usually heats up, every 15, 20 years. So hopefully it's just one of those hot spots in the history of the region. Um, but if it does get into something a little more serious, you can look for the U.S., China, and Russia to make a move to possibly try and quell it to keep it under nuclear level.
Gotcha. Okay. Zach, you spent some time in India, correct?
Yes, I've traveled there many times.
So, like, what's the like? Is it like an everyday issue kind of thing going on over there between Pakistan and India, or is it this is just kind of? I mean, I know it's been a long time thing. It's been what Jody said earlier, almost 100 years. These two have been kind of going at it. But is that something that like you hear on a regular basis over there, or what's kind of the?
Not really. I mean, when it escalates to this point, obviously it's going to make national news, but it's certainly not something they talk about on a regular basis in day to day life. You know, travel advisories would say you don't ever go in anywhere near that region, but it's pretty remote relative to Mumbai or Delhi. Uh, in day to day business dealings, it's not any particular issue that comes up on a regular basis. Obviously, it's
Gotcha.
probably, I mean, to Jamie's point, it's really escalated pretty quickly here. So, Hindustan Times is going to cover it in national news, and you're going to see a lot more about it. It is interesting that it's not. I haven't heard it talked about at all in stateside news, because it is. I mean, it is a big deal, and those countries, they're both pretty big powers in the world. So you don't want it to escalate beyond. I mean, you want it to end, but you don't want it to escalate beyond
Right.
a regional skirmish.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
Hey, Robbie, I can hear your mouse click every time you click it. I don't know if that's going to bother you. Just giving you a heads up.
okay. Yeah, I was trying to get something started here, and it's not working. But I will click quieter, I guess.
Can you control your clicks?
Um. What? I just kind of want to touch base with that because I know it wasn't something that everybody was talking about, and I wanted to throw it out there just so we can have the conversation. I know, Jamie, we were going to talk more about the OKC bombing. You and I kind of watched a little bit more, kind of based on that. I still didn't get a chance to watch the Max documentary. Is that still what you were going to want to talk about tonight, or did you want to move on from that?
I can talk about it. I've been unraveling another thread
Okay.
or two in that mystery, so I don't know. We can talk about it every once in a while. I could quit my job and do this full time, diving into stuff, and I still wouldn't know what really happened with Oklahoma City. But it
I don't.
sounds like it's it's crazy. It's crazy. So I've listened to um, a lot of really good sources, and I've listened to guys that basically have like old radio station recordings, and they'll
Gotcha.
talk for like 10 minutes, and then they'll just throw on this old Central Oklahoma radio station interview, from the mid '90s, and it's kind of crazy to go
KRMG?
back. No, I hadn't found any that played KRMG, but there are a lot smaller radio stations. But so first thing I'll talk about is the quieting of the John Doe number 2. That was in the media for a while. There's descriptions of them, eyewitness accounts saying, there's John Doe number 2. They briefly the Max documentary is better than the Netflix documentary.
Okay.
All right, because it actually dives into some of the things that don't line up, whereas the Netflix one is pretty similar to like the Waco one, I guess, where they leave out. There's some very convenient truths left out.
Gotcha.
It's not like they lie about it, but they definitely leave some stuff out. It's like, if you're doing a documentary, do the damn thing. Like, start
Right.
digging, find something new. Don't just keep peddling the same talking points from 1995.
Right.
So, John Doe number 2, they thought they had a suspect of John Doe number 2 in Jesse Trinidad. He's the guy that they found across the border in Tijuana. They tortured him, killed him, and then his brother's doing all the legal work from here. So we talked about that.
Is
Then
that
you
the
have-
guy that is in the drawing when they drew Timothy McVeigh, like the sketch artist drew Timothy McVeigh, and then you had the guy that kind of looked like John Redcorn?
No. So yes, I do remember. I actually, out of everything I've watched and listened to, I have not heard him described like that, but I do remember somebody saying that back then.
I mean, I looked at it and I go, that's Timothy McVeigh and that's John Redcorn. Like, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
so,
So
oh, I was going to say, maybe what's his name was the one that was a sketch artist on that one, the guy from Family Guy.
yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, Jesse Trinity was killed. Then you have this story of Terrence Yeekey, a member of the Oklahoma City Police Department, who, after he was one of the first ones on the scene, he helped people get out of the rubbles. He was a huge part of the getting those people out of there after the bomb went off, and he wrote a report that was 9 pages long. Nobody's seen it, and he wound up dead on the way to apparently store files for safekeeping, which they never found the files. He had left a VCR with a VHS tape in it at his ex-wife's house, who he asked repeatedly to marry. Like, hey, we should get married again so you can be on my insurance. So, anyways, the files were gone. Apparently someone broke into his ex-wife's house, and stole the VCR and the VHS. So all the relevant information. So he had been investigating Oklahoma City, and he had actually relied on the wrong people for the questions he was asking. Like, why was the bomb squad there like 15 minutes before the bombing? You know, some of the other questions is, you know, why did they call off the search twice for explosives if there was just the one bomb? Which that's the official narrative, is there was one bomb. So another theory in this is that they actually planted bombs on the lower in the parking garage on the pillars, and then because the AMPHO bomb that they had jigged would have exploded out 360, especially from the way they're talking about a build. They didn't have like a giant, you know, copper plate to build an actual shape charge. They keep saying shape charge, but it's not a shape charge if it's not designed like a shape charge, like a anti-tank RPG round, right?
Yeah.
So they keep saying shape charge, but every documentary I've heard, they talk about it just looking like if you were to put a bunch of double A's together and create a circuit with those double A's, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how he had the barrels arranged in the back of the truck. And so the explosion would have not just blown one side,
Right.
it would have blown 360 out. And since it was a ammonium nitrate bomb, so it was AMPHO, there would have been chemical, like a pretty long time to stay out of there because of how toxic the air would have been.
Right.
All right? And fires. There would have been a lot of fires. There were 0 fires.
Right. I didn't see
0.
it. I mean, I don't think that they. I mean, it just
There's
literally.
not even scorch marks. There's
Right.
not, like, there was no scorch mark. I mean, from what I remember, there's no scorch mark. So,
Well, and the tree, the tree that they always talk about. I mean, it doesn't have any burn marks on the tree. The tree's still standing there today, and it, like you would expect, at least one side of that tree to have been burned completely to where it would have been flat on one side. But at least, I mean, that's if the tree didn't catch fire and burn completely up. But that tree is still there today, and it's just fine.
so that's I mean, the amount of information that is out there, I recommend, so I'll go ahead and give, obviously you can punch in podcasts, or if you go to the libertarianinstitute.org, go to OKC Bombing Archive, and they've got so many documents. So I recommend, if you want to, you know, dive into this, definitely check that out. But seriously, guys, like, I bit off more than I could chew with that one.
That's always. I mean, that one. There's so many different ways you can take that. And then there's some, but there's also some really deliberate ways that it's kind of like, why was this never talked about? And I still to this day, like the fact that they had 2 sketches, they arrested one guy, you know, whatever the case may be. The other guy, they've never talked about him since then, at all.
Yeah,
So.
and then the connection to that small town in northeast Oklahoma, Elohim City. You know, that there was an ATF informant embedded in there that actually went and scoped out the Murrah building prior to it happening. An ATF informant, so that's cause enough to be like, oh, well, maybe they'll do that. And then on top of that, there was another foreign intelligence guy that was embedded in that same group. So I don't know. And none of the ATF officers were there that day. One ATF officer even admitted that, you know, yeah, I got a page. But somehow they were at the building. A swarm of them were at the building within minutes of the explosion.
Right.
That's wild.
Yeah, one of the guys, one of the ATF agents, he was a department head or whatever they call it, um, lied about being on an elevator, said he was trapped on like the, third floor. And then the elevator company inspectors came through and they were like, no, no, you weren't. Like he had said that it had dropped like 3 or 4 stories. And they're like, nope, that's not how elevators work. The only way they drop is if you cut the cables at the top.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's a lot of inconsistencies, and I'm leaning more towards that this is gross incompetence or something deeper and more nefarious.
Like Hillary Clinton.
Yep, I blame her. Watergate.
Yeah. I mean, she did have some documents that happened to be damaged in the explosion.
Yep, that's word on the street.
Yeah. So Zach, I know you didn't get to make it to the last episode of Conspiracy Theories, and you had something for us. What did you have for us?
Yeah, so I'm going to title this one Shadows and Spirochettes, Unpacking the Tick Bioweapon Theory.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about the potential of the U.S. government weaponizing ticks and other insects for use as bioweapons.
Okay.
And I think it's important to give a little context and, first of all, define what the big concern is, right? Because if you think about a regular tick scenario, yeah, it's an annoying pest and it sucks some blood and then you flick it off and you're fine. The issue is there are certain ticks that can actually cause a disease called Lyme disease. And most people have heard of that. And I think without Lyme disease, people wouldn't think too much about ticks. The issue with Lyme disease is if you catch it super early, you can oftentimes successfully treat it with some antibiotics, but it can lead to some serious health issues. So in the short term, a few days to 30 days, you can sometimes get a rash, so you can actually see that you got bitten, and that's a good indicator that you need to go get treatment pretty quickly. But it can cause flu-like symptoms pretty quickly, fever, chills, headache, all that sort of thing, swollen lymph nodes, joint aches. The problem is if it goes untreated, a couple weeks to months out, you can really start to get some big issues from an inflammation perspective, neurological issues, nerve pain, arthritis. It can even cause heart problems, swelling of the brain and spinal cord. And I've talked to a lot of people who even now, they know that it's Lyme disease, but it's so impacted in their body, they can't treat it. So they just have to live with these symptoms really forever. And it can be a chronic issue. So for some reason, I saw something online where somebody was bringing this back up, and it sort of had this ebb and flow of bringing up this issue where they think the government actually accidentally released this into the wild. And relatively recently, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, but relatively recently, this was an actual bill that was passed in 2019 for formal research and declassification of some of these documents. But we'll get to that in a minute. So we've talked about what Lyme disease is. As a backdrop, I think it's important to note that it's not a secret that the U.S. government has done bioengineering testing and research on bacteria, other pathogens, and used insects and other animals as medium to distribute those kinds of pathogens, right? So I think that's really critical, and they call it entomological warfare programs, right? And we've been officially on record for doing this since 1943. As a matter of fact, there was President Nixon actually put a stop to this. I think it was in 69. I'm just looking at my notes. 69, he said we need to stop this, and then officially put a formal stop to this kind of research in 73, if I remember correctly. But there
Right
are other
before he was
countries.
impeached.
Yes, correct. But there are, there are countries that are on record. Like Japan had a Unit 731, and during World War II, they did quote unquote horrific human experimentation and developed methods for dispersing pathogens. This included plague infected fleas that they dropped on Chinese
Villages.
cities.
Yep.
Plague.
Yep.
The Soviet Union actually did. Let's see, they used insects, ticks to transmit animal pathogens such as foot and mouth disease. And the idea here is one, if you're dropping the plague-filled ticks on or fleas on people, plague is nasty and it can kill a lot of people. The other concept is, well, we're just going to drop a bunch of ticks on these animals and disrupt the food supply and really, really disrupt the supply chain for people. Germany's done it. The UK has admitted to doing it. So the concept that the US wouldn't do bioengineering and testing COVID it is a little bit, seems to me to be pretty straightforward. The question really boils down to what makes us think that this was something that actually was released by the U.S. government, the ticks that cause Lyme disease. And there are a couple of things here. So one, the epicenter of Lyme disease. I'm going to show a couple of maps, but the research center where this is allegedly emanating from is the Plum Island Animal Disease Center. And I'll show you where that is on a map real quick. I think it's important to see this. So this Plum Island here is a really tiny island, but it's really close to a lot of important places, right? So off the coast of Connecticut, but Long Island is here. So it's close to a whole lot of people. The interesting thing is, if you look at the Lyme disease distribution, look at the East Coast here. So this is, Plum Island is roughly right in this area. Oh, you're not seeing that. Hold on, let me reshare. Take a look. So Plum Island is roughly in this little area right here between this Rhode Island and Massachusetts tag. And it really was discovered in the early 70s in this Connecticut area. And it's obviously spread along the East Coast here. Now, we'll get into the Wisconsin thing a little bit later, but the question would be, why is it just here and just here? So that's a big question. And again, the theory is it's just coincidence that the PIADC is right at the sort of epicenter of where that is. The interesting thing is there are some people who've come forward, specifically a gentleman by the name of, Willie Bergdorfer, who was an entomologist. Yeah, Bergdorfer, Bergdorfer.
That sounds like a made-up name.
He's a Swiss-born, U.S.-based medical entomologist credited with the 1981 discovery of the bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi. I'll call it BB from here on out.
I need you to say it again. Sorry, bud.
Yeah,
Every time.
And this is the spirochete, which is actually just a fancy name for bacteria that causes Lyme disease. But his background is a little more interesting. So before his death in 2014, he made statements suggesting that he was involved in the U.S. bioweapons programs during the Cold War. And he admitted to working for the U.S. government on projects aimed at weaponizing insects, including fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes, by infecting them with various pathogens. And this work reportedly took place at Army facilities in like Fort Detrick, Maryland. But he's actually suggesting that this PIADC location was carrying on his work, and they had an accidental release of thousands of these ticks out in the wild. Now, of course, the government is denying this. That didn't happen. But there have been a couple of people who have dug in a little further. There was somebody by the name of, hang on, I got to get my notes sorted out here. Michael Carroll, who wrote a book in 2004 called Lab 257, The Disturbing Story of the Government's Secret Plum Island Germ Laboratory. And he cited numerous safety lapses, but claimed that they were doing germ warfare research. He claims to have declassified government documents, and this was all happening in the early 1950s before this facility was officially turned over to the USDA and then ultimately to the DHS. And his research indicated that hundreds of thousands of ticks were bred on Plum Island in the 70s as part of experiments involving African swine fever. So, and there was another book by the name of Bitten, written by Chris Newby, who suffers from Lyme disease. She was trying to get to the bottom of why this is becoming so prevalent. So she wrote a book in 2019.
Hang on. So her name was Bitten, and she's talking about fleas.
No, her name is Chris Newby. She wrote the book called Bitten.
Oh, the book was called
Yeah,
Bitten.
sorry.
Okay, I thought you said her name was Bitten. I was like, oh, the irony here.
That's right. Sources for her book are actually primarily Bergdorfer. She did a lot of interviews with him before he passed away and had access to his files. And she's saying not only is there the BB bacteria that causes Lyme disease directly, but Bergdorfer actually discovered another pathogen called a Swiss agent, which is a rickettsia-like organism, just nasty bacteria, right? That actually makes the Lyme disease even worse, and they've actually linked it to Alzheimer's. So
it's Swiss, and Bergdorfen is Swiss as well?
Yes, that is correct.
Gertie. I know that's...
Isn't that Finland?
Swedish.
There you go.
Swedish chef.
Swedish.
Gertie.
And
okay.
Cuba also has gone on record officially accusing the U.S. of it was called Operation Mongoose, where we actually dropped infected these ticks on their sugarcane workers back during the Cold War, and actually caused Lyme disease infections in their sugarcane workers to try to interrupt their primary source of income, sugarcane production. Now let's talk about the.
I'm not really sure that a third world country needed a lot of help from us to introduce disease to their workers.
Well,
just saying. I mean,
I like.
I don't think we'd ever do anything like that. That's a little.
Dude, how many Bond villains are running the U.S. government is what I want to know. Because, they had a lot of irons in the fire at this, during this period.
Well, and since we're talking about these islands, right? Isn't there an island, off the Carolinas that they, were trying to train monkeys or something?
Monkeys.
And then they end up, letting the monkeys pretty much just have the island?
That was Fauci.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but I mean, this is seems like a reoccurring thing. Hey, we got this little island here, let's do this. And then Epstein said, hey, I got this little island here, let's do this.
I don't think Epstein ever said that. I think somebody was like, we're going to put you on this island, and here's what's going to happen.
Yeah, you're probably not. I mean, that's a whole nother story, but yes. Anyway, go ahead, Zach.
So the counterpoint to this conspiracy theory that this was all government created, right, and they've caused this massive outbreak of Lyme disease, is that this bacteria, the BB bacteria, has been around for thousands of years. So they've found DNA in mummies where they've found this bacteria. So the counterpoint is, no, it's always been there. So the government didn't have anything to do with Lyme disease spreading across the eastern seaboard. And the other the other counterpoint is, well, it's too slow. So if you're trying to do mass, devastation or impact, the spread, it's taking decades for it to spread across, this eastern seaboard. So from a vector perspective, the logistics are too slow acting to make it, effective in terms of germ warfare.
So
And then
they came up with AIDS after that, right?
Well, I was getting ready to say something similar. I'm like, wouldn't you test this on something that nobody would suspect first, and then like load in coronavirus or whatever to
well,
like something faster spreading after you figure out your delivery system works?
so the question is not would they. I mean, if they're doing testing on it and trying to increase the severity of the impact, it doesn't mean it always works,
Right.
right? They could have tried to magnify the impact of the bacteria, and ultimately found, well, it doesn't spread fast enough, or it's just not the right kind of vector that we're going to use. But if you think about the cost effectiveness of doing something like this, I mean, you can breed hundreds of thousands of ticks for really not a lot of money.
Right.
So, and if you're trying to impact, a population,
I'm a tick farmer.
Yeah, exactly. But the real key here is that the government denies this ever happened. I mean, so clearly it didn't. Now, what the records state is that the DHS and CDC specifically say that they do not do any classified research in this facility, and they have not taken part in any of this bioweapon engineering work. Well, guess when the DHS took this facility over? 2003. So they may have plausible deniability. They may very honestly be saying we don't do any bioweapon research here, and we did not take part in any of that. So fine.
Now, that terminology is very, very specific, and they could have always classified it as like anti-bio, warfare types, research. So they create the whole plan, the delivery system, the diseases, and all that stuff. And all they gotta do is claim is we're just afraid that China's gonna do this, so we're trying to get ready to fight against it.
Robbie, are you referring to gain of function research?
What?
No, we don't do that.
No, there's
We
no
don't
way.
do that.
There's no way.
We don't do that. So the government denies
way.
that they were taking part in any of that. Although we had on the record, we have bioweapon research documents that very specifically say, yes, we were engaging in this kind of activity. So this particular facility says that they weren't part of that. Now, there was a congressman by the name of Chris Smith out of New Jersey, and I don't know his whole story. I don't know why. I don't know if he had family members affected by Lyme disease, or if he was just a concerned congressman. But based on Newby's book, Bitten, he introduced a bill to the House in 2019. He was the co-chair. He was a longstanding advocate for Lyme disease patients and co-chair of the House Lyme Disease Caucus. And he became a really vocal proponent for federal investigation into these claims, these conspiracy theory claims. So there's a congressman who's saying there's enough evidence here that I'd like formal investigation. So he introduced amendments to multiple national defense authorization acts for formal investigation to the Department of Defense, Inspector General, Government Accountability Office, and it passed the House, but it got pushed down and never passed the Senate. So the conspiracy theory is still there. The government is refusing to do any real investigation, the data would suggest that there's a real concentration. I mean, the reason it's called Lyme disease is because there's a small town in Connecticut called Old Lyme, which is where the cases were first diagnosed, which is right across from this Plum Island.
Oh,
So
interesting.
geographically speaking, there is some evidence to suggest there was a hot spot right there. So, some people completely debunk this and say it's just pure coincidence, that bacteria has been around a long time. But my question would be, why is this not at all across the U.S. then? Like, why don't I have to worry about Lyme disease in Florida? I mean, there's
Because
ticks
Lyme
everywhere.
disease doesn't fly.
Right. So that's the conspiracy theory. And I also, when I dove into this, I wanted to do the research on the counterpoints as well, because I wanted to, if it really didn't hold any water, I wanted to debunk it. And I can't find real evidence other than the government denying it. And the
not a good start.
It is factual that that bacteria has been around for thousands and thousands of years. That's a fact. But I don't think we go into bio weapon research trying to invent something from scratch, right? They're using gain of function to try to increase the impact of something that already exists. So I'll open it up to questions now. I mean, I've done a lot of reading on this, and there's some pretty interesting stuff. But what questions do you guys have?
So my question is the Michigan thing
Wisconsin.
or Wisconsin?
Yeah.
So what was the interesting part about that being a hot spot as well?
Yeah. So it's odd because the patient zero in Wisconsin had claimed, and I guess I believe it to be true, he's never traveled to the Northeast. They have no idea how patient zero in Wisconsin got infected with Lyme disease. But you saw from that map, the concentration is really heavy right in Wisconsin. Now there's some that's creeping into Minnesota as well. It's speculation on my part, but that doesn't mean that people didn't bring the ticks with them other than patient zero from the Northeast into Wisconsin, and it ended up being another hotspot. But there's not a lot of research that's been done in terms of why there's some concentration there.
And patient zero may not actually be patient zero. He may be
exactly right.
Patient one or whatever.
Here's the story. All right, there was one of the scientists that worked in the lab on Plum Island is actually from Wisconsin. He forgot to wash his hands after work. He flew home for Christmas, and bam, Lyme disease in Wisconsin.
He also
in our
had
cheese supply.
He had a pet dog that he traveled with all the time too, and the dog was highly infested.
Yeah, Roger Frenenberger turned teen.
So what's the actual time frame from when this project allegedly happened to today, where we look at those numbers?
So presumably it was. This all started in World War II, right? Because we knew that the Nazis were doing this, germ warfare stuff. So we really upped our game in terms of doing this research. The first actual diagnosis, and where Bergendorfer, when he actually discovered this particular bacteria as the cause of Lyme disease, was early 70s. So you're talking about a couple of decades later, where they're now discovering this, this disease is actually starting to show up in humans.
Gotcha. So 40 years.
So it is a slow spread. Yeah, it is a slow spread for sure.
So coming from a government that created fire bats for Japan, did not do Lyme bombs, tick bombs. There's no way.
That's right.
The fire bat's a whole other story. God, dog. Yeah. So
That
essentially,
is so met out.
they sent in bats with fire on them to go into these Japanese houses because they were all made out of wood and
Yeah.
trying to burn down the entire city.
Yep.
When in
That's right.
Tokyo.
Wait, of civilians?
Oh yeah.
We wouldn't do that to the
Oh,
Japanese.
of
We
course.
wouldn't kill
Of
civilians.
course not. It was
I
only
think
going,
the-
it was only looking for
I mean,
factories.
history says otherwise. History says we wouldn't do that. So
Didn't Japan also do bat bombs? Weren't they strapping little bombs to bats as well? And then, or maybe it was us. And the bat flew back into a hangar on the base, and it accidentally blew up. It blew
Yeah,
up the hangar.
that was actually the first demonstration of the bat bombs.
Okay.
And that's actually the last time that it was actually used. So the idea was supposed to
surprised
be...
they didn't use carrier pigeons.
Oh,
Wow,
people have tried that stuff too,
Yeah.
for sure.
Now, let's not talk about the cats with, like, espionage type stuff.
No, yeah.
Cameras on their heads.
I heard about that, like, I don't know, probably last year or something. And I thought that
Oh,
was
that's
the
a wild
craziest thing.
Where
Wild story.
they implanted all the spy gear and antennas and everything in the cat,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to walk across the street to the park to listen in on the espionage. And as soon as it walked into the street, it ran over. It was like $1 million worth of research and equipment in this cat, and
God.
it just got nailed on the street.
Well, they
Oh, my
also had
goodness.
dogs that had explosives in them.
Yeah.
I think it was the Germans.
The Germans.
And they sent the dog out, and it knew where the food was, so it came back to their own German tank and blew up their own tank.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So
I
anyway,
told you
that's
not to
the-
feed that dog.
Yeah.
the conspiracy of the weaponized tick.
Gotcha.
All right.
Very
The
good.
government denies.
Jody, do you have one for this week?
Man, we could talk on this stuff all day long. I mean, it goes down. I can go down a rabbit hole. Was I prepared to go into details on these? No. I wouldn't expect. I was expecting Zach to take the cake on this one. I think he definitely pulled that one off quite well.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
What about you, Jamie? Did you have one?
A new one?
Yeah.
I saw a report that underground city, a massive underground city, was built during the Bush administration for like, I don't know, few
Is it at Denver
trillion-
Airport?
Possibly.
I mean,
Or do we want to talk about the cheese caves?
Cheesecake.
Oh, you guys don't.
I don't know about this
You
one.
don't know about
Yeah, I
the
don't
cheese caves. It's not a conspiracy.
Is that the one
It's actually legit.
the refrigerated? Yeah, the refrigerated. Yeah, where they rent out the space.
Yeah, so
Is that the
essentially,
one you're talking about?
yeah. So back in the day, the government was pumping money into dairy farmers to create cheese, and then it got to the point where they had an overabundance of cheese. So what they did is like, hey, we've already paid for it, so let's store it, and then they reuse that cheese. So a lot of that time you see government cheese.
Yeah.
Like in the military and in prisons and stuff like that. That's where they all get it from, is literally from this cave. But now we're at, I want to say it's 1 billion pounds of cheese in this cave as we speak.
Where's this cave? Not that I'm interested in government cheese by any stretch of the imagination, but Just
I would have.
curious.
I don't remember where it's at. I would have to. Like I
Green
said,
Bay.
was it Green Bay?
No.
That makes sense. It's cold up there. There's cheese up there.
The Packers fans got to do something.
Yeah.
I mean it's kind of incredible that this country has so many large, like cave-like places. I know in Kansas City, there's a whole cave network underneath the city of Kansas City, and Ford actually stores vehicles in these caves.
Alright. Got an update for you.
There you go. All right.
1.4 billion pounds of cheese. And it's stored in Missouri.
Okay.
So you can
See?
you can literally Google
Caves.
Missouri cheese caves, and you can go take a tour of these caves that have 1.4 billion pounds of cheese.
How much space would that take up?
I'm getting all
It's
backed
funny
up
you
just
it's
thinking
funny you
about it.
asked.
I know.
3.5 million square feet a refrigerated warehouse in Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, so
Underground.
it's in a warehouse, not a cave.
It's in a
Is that-
cave. It's still in a
Okay.
cave. Yeah.
Okay.
Warehouse in a cave.
Yeah.
So is the cave just cold enough to keep the cheese, or
Yep.
is there actually
Oh, it's
refrigeration devices?
This cheese cave has been upgraded multiple times since like World War II.
The question
Gotcha.
is, whose responsibility is it to cut the cheese?
Ah, that's a great
I'm
point.
appointing Zach McCoy as our cheese czar.
Our
It's gonna be the
master cheese cutter.
best cheese we've ever had. He's gonna be the best because I appointed him the cheese czar to cut the cheese.
The best.
It's gonna be fantastic.
There's been nobody to cut the cheese like Zach McCoy cuts the cheese. I'm
That's
telling
true.
you what.
That's actually true.
I
That's
don't
legit.
know. Yes, he'll give you a run for your money. So what's everybody drinking tonight? I saw Jody's got a beer there. What is it? Ultra?
No, high noon.
High Noon. Okay.
So I got like their summer pack. It is. I'm on the peach right
Is
now.
it time for summer pack already?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's May.
Well, some of us don't live in Florida, so
It's- we had summer like a month ago.
that's nice.
It has been
So-
nice.
So what flavor are you drinking, Jody?
This one is peach that I've got right now.
Peach. Okay.
Yeah, I'm at the back of the box. That's all I had left in this one.
So is that like the bad flavor?
So the tangerine one isn't too bad. My favorite is still the grapefruit. Like after drinking these for a while, it's like I like getting to the grapefruit ones.
Okay.
I like the grapefruit as well.
Gotcha. Zach, you drinking anything in particular?
Yeah, Berkey water.
Berkey water.
You by our sponsor, Berkey.
Jamie?
I am drinking tea.
Louisiana.
Tea. An
Gotcha.
organic southern tea blend.
Ah,
Nice. Nice.
by Southern Tea Blend, there's definitely sugar in that.
It's sugar free. It's a
Aspartame.
natural sweetener. No,
Aspirin,
I had that afterwards.
xylitol, or whatever that other stuff is. So I am drinking a new beer I've never had before in honor of the newest city in Texas from Starbase Brewery.
Oh,
It's actually not made in Starbase, Texas. It's actually made in Austin, but they have quite a few flavors. I'm drinking Occupy Mars, and this is the official brewery of Mars, by the way. So
So tell me about this new city in Texas, because that's something I wasn't tracking.
Oh,
So
yeah.
as
This is
of
interesting.
yesterday, the charter was signed to make Starbase, which is SpaceX's base here in Texas, its own city. So they built housing for most of the employees that work at Starbase, Texas.
Outside of
And-
McGregor?
What's that?
Is it outside of McGregor?
It's down south on the coast.
It's on the coast. So
yeah, I
it's
want to
not-
say
so
it's,
not the
it's down in
SpaceX
the Rio Grande Valley,
Oh.
down there. Are you talking about McGregor, New Mexico?
No, McGregor, Texas is where they have a SpaceX center.
It's well, let's see here. I had it pulled up here.
But McGregor's by where I used to live.
No, this is down south. It's
Okay.
in it's in Cameron County.
Okay.
I'm trying to see Cameron County. It doesn't really say what's near there. let's see. Oh, no, of course there's no map here. Starbase, Texas.
Oh, it's all the way like on the Mexico. It's outside of Brownsville.
Oh,
There you go.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, on the on the coast.
Yeah, like yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's kind of it's in the South Bay area, like
Like a mile from the border.
yeah. So, yeah, so that's really cool. They've got a they elected a mayor yesterday. I'm assuming they did it on Saturday because that's when all the special elections were in Texas.
And is he the one that's an employee?
He is the I got it right here. He is what is it? So the first mayor is Bobby Peden. He's the vice president of Texas's test and launch operations at SpaceX.
Oh, that's
So
kind of cool.
Peden and two other residents with SpaceX ties who will fill the two commissioner seats. All three of them ran unopposed. So
Just
not
nobody
a lot.
knew about it.
I mean, there's only 260 people there.
Yeah.
So it's
So
not
everybody is either an employee on the government staff now. Everybody's either an employee or family members of employees.
right. Which I think the fact that they incorporated will give them the ability to kind of expand the city a little bit and
Yep.
create jobs there that are non-SpaceX related. And
Yep.
yeah, so I mean, I think it's a good thing for them down there. They'll get some probably some federal funding that they may not have gotten otherwise, some state funding they may not have got otherwise.
And the fact that it's like, you know, it's probably Elon's baby, you know, that city. I don't think he's going to let anything happen to it. So it's probably going to be the cleanest, like, safest city in that area by a long
Let's
shot.
go buy a bunch of
Yeah.
property right around the outside of the city limits and see what happens.
I mean, I believe the land there is still probably pretty expensive because it's literally right on the coast.
Right on the,
But like my thought process is I don't know if you guys remember this, and I don't even know if they're still doing it. El Salvador with their Bitcoin city that they were trying to open up down there, that was supposed to be like this master plan community that was supposed to be 100% like, you know, clean energy because they were going to use the volcano and all that stuff. So that's kind of what I imagine. Starbase. I want to call it Space Base. Starbase,
Space
Texas
Base.
will be like.
no, that'll be the other side of the trip to Mars. Will be space
Yeah.
base.
Yeah.
Starbase to space base.
So my thought process was when I first saw this beer, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if this is located down there, and it said Austin, Texas on there. I'm like, I wonder if they're gonna relocate down there once they get everything squared away down there.
Land still, you're looking at 300,000 for a half-acre lot down there. So
Still pricey.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I figured that Jamie said I need to work on my my transition, so I went out and bought the beer to do it this week. So, what else is going on? I know the Stars. Stars had a incredible win the other night. I don't know if you guys have watched
That
any
was
hockey
wild.
lately.
That was absolutely wild.
So, just a little backtrack if you didn't get to watch it or not a hockey fan. So, the Stars, about 3/4 of the way through the season, they pick up a guy from the Carolina Hurricanes who used to play for the Colorado Avalanche. And they let him go because he wanted a long-term contract. And so, he ends up going to Carolina, play for the Canes. A few weeks later, he gets traded to the Stars. And really, he's been not effective at all. Through the end of the season, he was not effective. Through the majority of the first round, he was not effective. And then So I'm sitting there watching the game. I'm thinking, man, we're going to get a pretty easy playoff this year because we're going to be out in the first round. Because we were down, Stars were down 2-0 with about 10 minutes left in the third period. And then Mikko Rantanen, who's the guy who used to play for Colorado, scores first goal is pretty standard goal. Just got the puck up high enough to where the goalie couldn't get it. Then a few minutes later, he breaks down the ice, and he kind of goes around the goal and kind of pushes the puck around the goal, bounces it off a defender's skate and into the goal for goal number 2, ties up the game. And then, of course, at this point, I'm thinking, great, now we got overtime. We're going to be here all night watching them play. And one of the younger guys ends up scoring, puts them ahead. And then, so the Avalanche pull their goalie in the final minutes to try to give themselves an advantage to score the goal to tie the game to go in overtime. And they mess up, and Mikko Rantanen scores in the last few seconds of the game, scoring a hat trick. And the thing that really sucked for Colorado is they had to wait like 10 minutes for them to clear the ice, because anytime a player at home scores a hat trick, everybody throws their hat on the ice. And so they had to wait like 10 minutes just to play the last 13 seconds of the game so they can all go home, and wish they would have never traded that player. So,
man, what if you just hit the gift shop and you got a new hat? You didn't wear one to the game. Now you got to throw that thing on the ice? That's a racket.
That's on you, man, for not planning ahead.
Yep.
yeah.
It better be
you gotta keep
cheap,
an old dirty hat with you.
It better be cheap hat night or something at the.
So I will tell you this, that the Stars usually do have like a cheaper hat there at the gift shop, but I mean you'd have to plan ahead for that.
Yeah.
It's $50 instead of $80 like the other ones to go with your $30 beer. Have a good night.
You've been hanging around baseball too long. Things aren't quite that expensive in hockey. And that's because the jerseys, which they don't call jerseys, they call them sweaters, they're like twice as expensive as a baseball jersey. So, so the cool thing is they actually, because I was like, what is a player gonna do with 3,000 hats or however many get thrown on the ice? A lot of times they donate them to charities and stuff like that. There are some players that keep all of them, which I think, what are you going to do with all those hats, especially if this is not your first rodeo?
Clear a trash bag and put it on the wall of all the hats you collected on your hat trick.
Yes, like make a hot air balloon out of all the hats or something. I don't know. But yeah, so Stars go on to play in the second round. It's going to be another long couple of weeks with that series, but they look pretty good if they play that way throughout the rest of the series. But hockey's a weird thing.
Yeah, I would love to see the Stars and Vegas play in the conference. Is it conference finals or no?
Yeah.
Conference finals.
The Western Conference Finals. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Vegas after being a Stars fan, just because that's kind of like our
I
arch
just think
nemesis.
it would be neat because I got a lot of friends that are Vegas fans.
Okay, I hear you.
I would try to go to a playoff game, but then Vegas is not as cool as it used to be, and it's kind of a hole. So.
Yeah. I know you guys aren't a big NBA fan, but the Pacers pulled off a big win tonight. So they're playing Cleveland, who's the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Pacers are a 4 seed. They beat the Bucks in the first round. And then, obviously Cleveland's number 1 seed, so they've got home court advantage. Pacers went into Cleveland and won the first 2 games at Cleveland.
Nice.
The game series.
Nice.
So going back to Indianapolis for the next 2 games, obviously. So that's That's big. I mean, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so it's not a huge shock that they're decent. But going into Cleveland and beating Cleveland 2 games in a row on their court is pretty big.
Yeah.
I did see that the Knicks beat the Celtics last night after being down 20
Oh, did
points.
they? Didn't see that.
Yeah, in Boston. They were
Wow.
down by 20 and came back and won the game. So, I'm not a huge NBA fan. It's kind of hard to be an NBA fan right now with the Mavericks being the way they are here, and the Spurs are even worse. But the Spurs actually. So Greg Popovich, the Spurs head coach, he had a heart attack midway through the season, and I mean, like, it took him forever to get out of the hospital with that thing, and
Didn't he have a stroke too? Doesn't he have a stroke and a heart attack?
I think he had a stroke in the past, if I'm not mistaken. But he stepped down yesterday or the day before. Passed on the torch to his number 2, which a lot of people thought was going to be Becky Hammond. Was going to be the next Spurs coach, because she was a Spurs number 2 for a long time. I'm not sure where she is now, but
Is she going to be the first female coach?
no, he passed it down to somebody else.
Well,
But
I mean,
that-
it's like another organization picking her up as a just to.
Are you
just to
asking me
say-
if? Yeah, are you asking me if she's probably going to end up being the first female
Yeah.
NBA? Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I can't see anybody else doing it. I mean, all your women coaches in the NCAA, like, they have it made so good there that they're not going anywhere. And so I think Becky Hammond's really the. She's like one of the only women that I'm aware of, and there could be others, that is as active in the NBA as she is. I know she's done a lot of things. So she's coached
Sure
the
she
summer
has.
league. She has been the summer league coach for the Spurs for a long time. So, yeah, I know that's going on there. And then
So Pop was the coach for 29 seasons, and he had a stroke in November, and he did not coach a single game since for the rest of the season. But he's going to be the president
of
basketball
operations or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Now there's a fun fact, and you may see it. You looked it up or whatever. That there are more NBA head coaches that have worked under Greg Popovich than any other coach in the history of the NBA.
Makes sense with that kind of tenure.
Yeah, I mean he, and you can go through. I mean, some of the best teams have coaches that have either played for or coached with Greg Popovich. So he's the real deal. It's going to be a big loss for the Spurs, because that's why a lot of young talent wants to play in San Antonio, is because of that.
Yeah, send Chris a message. That's probably one of the reasons they're keeping him with the organization. Is because, hey, he's not coaching, but he's still here. Somebody bring
Yeah.
out Popovich.
Oh, Chris is never coming back now. You just made fun of like Saint Popovich. So the rumor that's flying around Dallas right now is that they're gonna fire Nico Harrison and hire. Oh my gosh, I literally just went blank. What's the big dude's name that played here forever? Dirk Nowitzki.
Head coach.
For general manager.
Yeah, GM.
So,
I mean, isn't he part of the front office right now?
I don't think so. I think he's just kind of a mascot.
Okay.
There's just a lot going on with the Mavericks right now. The Mavericks, they got new ownership. They really fumbled the ball when it came to
Wrong sport.
Yeah.
well.
He really had a home run.
I
Nope,
mean-
wrong again.
It's a sticky wicket.
It was a kick save and a butte.
But
That
but
should
yeah,
have been a
it's-
layup for you. There you go.
But they've been calling for Nico Harrison's job here, like every chance they get. Like They harass him anytime they see him here. It's crazy. I mean, that's what you get for making a bonehead trade.
Yeah.
To a team that didn't even make it out of the first round. Like, most of the time you're like, yeah, dude, go win a championship.
The Lakers didn't make it out of the first round?
No, didn't they lose?
I don't know. I thought they were like the favorites.
Yeah, they weren't good. They lost in the first round.
Oh, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
that surprises me.
See, who's on the Lakers that was really important that he had to win this one?
I don't know. I mean,
Some guy. I don't know.
Jokic.
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's in Denver. I think he's like the number 5 or 6 player in the NBA who plays for the Lakers now. Like of all time, number 5.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Larry Bird probably beats the dude. For sure.
So, I mean, now, since we're on the subject, I think we're pretty much on agreement in this aspect of it. But number 1's obviously who?
Patrick Ewing.
That I figured. I mean, good. We're on the same page.
Then Penny Hardaway.
Then Scottie Pippen.
Then Scottie Pippen. Duh.
And Dennis Rodman. Hello.
Of
Oh, you
course.
can't forget Dennis Rodman. He's the only NBA player that married himself.
Dude, man, Dennis Rodman was the worst addition to that team. Like,
Which team?
I
mean, all of them?
All of them.
Yeah, I mean, mainly the Bulls, because it was like, you have this awesome chemistry, and then you throw this weirdo into the mix. It's like, what are you guys even thinking?
Hey, we don't like the chemistry of the team. Let's throw some pizzazz in there.
Everybody's haircuts are too like perfect. Let's throw the one guy in here with the pink hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of a weird addition. I mean, it worked well for him, I guess, but it is what it is. I mean, I remember when he came to the Spurs, I was thinking, what? Like, you go from Chicago to San Antonio. I mean, I love San Antonio, but
That's how
gotta
you know
be
you're
rough.
on a slide. That's
Yeah.
You're on a slide at
Yeah,
that point.
that's got to be rough for
because
somebody.
they weren't good. They weren't good at that time, right?
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, because they won in '99, and I mean, gosh, now I gotta look up Dennis Rodman with the Spurs. I don't think he won a championship with them. Oh, don't worry. Yeah, he played 99-2000 season. He scored 2.8 points a game.
Yeah, but how many
So-
rebounds did he get?
Yeah, rebound, because he was more a rebound
That's true.
guy.
Yeah, 14.2. So yeah,
Per game.
He was a sick rebounder.
that's true. That's true.
Well, he played with reckless abandon. He just threw his body at the ball.
He did.
That's probably why it was so weird. Too many concussions.
So yeah, I mean, well, no, because I think. So he joined after the '99 championship Spurs. He played the '99-2000 season with them, and they did not win that year. So.
And that was with old Poppy. That was early on in Poppy's career.
It was probably middle of Poppy's career. I mean, he's been
Didn't you say he was coaching for 29 seasons?
29.
Yep.
Yeah. First
29.
third, I guess, but yeah.
Math.
Oh my god.
The only reason I know that is because Oklahoma City's anniversary was 30 years ago
Yeah.
last month. So
Yep. So yeah, you're right. Anything else you guys want to touch base on today? I know we didn't really do as much conspiracy theories as I thought we would, but
Yeah, I do got one huge shout out, man.
okay.
So, right after last week, after our podcast, I got the opportunity to go out with a buddy of mine on his boat, his bass boat, out on the
That looked like fun.
St. John's River, man. Bro, that water was glass. He took me. So that was the first. Well, not the first time. The first time that I actually went out on a boat and actually went bass fishing. We were looking for topwater. Bro, talk about exciting, challenging, and frustrating all wrapped up into one, man. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, you're taking a plastic frog and you're trying to throw it up to the shoreline from your boat, and you're trying to get through the brush, through the lily pads, and the title of his video, because he's a YouTuber and content creator himself, the title of his video is "Who Had the Worst Cast?" Because we were struggling, man. There was like a lily pad floating on top of the water, and I threw my frog in, and it missed everything but the lily pad. Freaking snagged on it immediately, and I was like, "Dadgum, man." So this is George Clements. His channel is George Clements, and then his series is called Old Man with a Boat. And he's out of Florida down here with me, and good buddy of mine. And it was on a premise of taking a vet out fishing.
That's awesome.
He was like super cool to have. He gave us a shout out. I want to return the
saw
favor.
Yeah.
So he's he's only been at this for like 4 or 5 months, and he's gaining on us. So we've got some work to do, because he's been asking me questions about what we're doing, and I'm like, well, yeah, we're getting there.
I've got that video saved in my playlist for my travels.
It's a good one. It's absolutely worth it. I mean, we talk about some things kind of like what we talked here. Of course, I'm on there, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to mess up his channel. I don't want to get him, demonetized or anything like that. So I got to be careful about what I say. And we kind of go off on a little bit of a rant of stuff that the same type of stuff we cover here. The biggest thing being AI, and it's finding its way into the fishing sport.
Yep.
I did hear you talking about that. So what does AI and fishing have to do with? I mean, like, are they using AI to try to figure out where to fish?
So essentially, they're one of the new strategies is you got a forward-facing sonar on these boats, and they are super accurate. But now they're incorporating that data into going up into the cloud and feeding to other fishing boats with other forward-facing sonars. And so now you're essentially mapping wherever you're fishing out, and all this data gets compiled, and it's going to come down to, hey, use this lure in this spot to catch these types of fish. And it may even be to the point where you're going to see fish of this size in this location. That's how fast AI is taking over this sport. And I brought up things like them using what's it called? Calling strikes and balls, like being able to go back and look at strikes and balls after the fact. Technology is changing all of our sports, and that was kind of the topic that I threw into that as we were talking about that. He's got a whole video on the AI aspect of it alone, and he was just asking for my feedback on it while we were out there on the boat, so I gave him my feedback while I was on his video.
Cool.
Very cool. Well, we appreciate his shout out, and definitely a channel I'm going to check out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good dude. Maybe
Jody, I mean, if you ever want to try to get him on, I mean, we'd love to put him on here, do a collaborative, put him on here with us, and that way he doesn't have to worry about what he says.
And the funny thing is he has most of us pegged already because he's been watching our content.
Oh, yeah?
He's like, I really like that Mr. Rogers looking guy. He's pretty funny.
It's funny because I used AI to create I used AI to create action figures for each of us, and it made Jamie look like Mr. Rogers.
You didn't share those.
Yeah, I gotta. I'll send those out, but
he's got a few tweaks to make on some of them. Yours didn't have pants, Zach, for some reason.
What makes you think I have pants on right now?
Oh man, yeah. So I'll put those out there. That maybe I'll make a thumbnail with our action figures on there sometime. But anything else where you want to cut the outro, Jody?
Nope.
What movie was it where he called that dude Ken doll crotch? I'm sorry, I was laughing at it so hard. There was a movie.
Ken doll
He insults a dude. He goes,
Yeah.
He goes, "What are you looking at, Ken doll crotch?" or something like
I
that.
whatever it was, I just watched it the other day because I.
Yeah, we gotta Google it real quick.
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't know, man. I just saw something. Was it in Step Brothers?
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's probably one of those movies, whether it's old school, Step Brothers, Anchorman, something like that.
Yeah.
Step Brothers, I think.
Yeah, it's Step Brothers.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I just, it was funny you said that because that just popped into my head the other day and I was like, that's funny shit right there. Well, Jody, you want to roll the outro? Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back again soon with another YouTube Live.